Have you ever wondered why students learn the same math for over 4 years? Well, in this video, we're going to uncover why students learn the same math for 4 years. In my own experience, I've taught pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, and pre-calculus. I've also done a year of calculus as well, but I'm going to leave that out of here because I feel like that doesn't apply completely with the introduction of derivatives and a focus on integrals as well. So I'm just going to focus on my own experience in these 4 subjects. In pre-algebra, I have taught students how to simplify exponents and how to simplify terms involving exponents and variables involving exponents, product rule, quotient rule, etc. I taught that in pre-algebra. When I taught algebra, I retaught it. When I taught geometry, it didn't come up as much. I'll talk about geometry in a moment. In my own experience, when it comes to a topic like exponent rules, for instance, quotient rule or product rule with exponents, I taught students how to use this rule in pre-algebra for the first time. When I taught it in algebra, the curriculum states that we reteach it. In algebra 2, we reteach it again, though sometimes it gets a little more complicated. And in pre-calculus, we reteach it again. Why are we covering this same skill or topic every single year? And this isn't the only skill or topic. This is just one clear instance that's shown up in all the schools that I've taught at in these specific grade levels. Now, I'm mentioning geometry because depending on your path in algebra, some schools require that you do geometry after algebra 2. Some schools require that you do algebra 1 with geometry. So I'm leaving geometry out of it for a second. I feel like geometry exists as a separate class. It's not aligned with the algebraic curriculum. And that's really the main focus of this video, is from pre-algebra to pre-calculus, there's a lot of the same topics coming up. Why are we covering this skill and topic every single year? The truth is, the way we're teaching isn't working. The issue is, every year that I've taught this subject, the students feel like, or at least it seems from my point of view, that the students are completely learning it all over again. They completely forget what they learned the previous year. And so some kids who are really good in these soft skills, or in these meticulous skills, they crush math, but they crush it for the wrong reasons. They're crushing it because they're understanding the procedural fluency very well. They're not crushing it because they're understanding the depth of the material very well. It's just, once they've learned it in 1 year, as long as they retain it, they're set with that skill or topic in the next 3 years. And it's true. Math does build on itself, and it should build on itself, but we shouldn't be reteaching it over and over again. We shouldn't be dedicating whole units over and over again. And I think the reason why as teachers we feel the need to do that is because the kids aren't mastering the material yet. Why is this happening? There's 4 reasons why. Firstly, topics from pre-algebra to pre-calculus don't connect to the lives of each one of our students. We don't take the time in the school year to really find out what gets them psyched, what makes them tick. And because it's really hard to build that into the curriculum right when we're starting the school year. This might be good data to collect at the end of the school year and pass on to their next teacher if possible. But it would be helpful if we could format the curriculum to fit their interests a little bit better. Secondly, we teach them skills first and then problem solving after. We want to make sure that they know how to solve problems on the skill level, and then when we give them a hard question, for instance, word problems, all students struggle with that to some degree, we expect them to apply the skills to those more problem-solving types of tasks in class or on assessments. The third reason why this is happening is because we don't offer enough space to let them struggle. And what I mean by this, and this is why this is kind of a list of 3 things, but I'm going to expand on that a little bit. We teach them what to think, not how to think. And that kind of stems from the second thing, which is what I'm going to really talk about the most in this video. Is we're teaching them what to think. We're teaching them what strategies to use. We're giving them the strategies. We're not giving them the space to figure it out. And you learn things differently when you're given that space. When you've taken the time to figure out some way to solve a problem on your own. It might not be the most efficient or strategic. And that's what teachers have been doing for years. We try to get kids to be efficient so we can move through the curriculum. But as long as we keep doing this, we're setting ourselves up for failure, and we're not helping our students in the long run. Why is this system still operating? Well, 1, we design curricula to come up in slightly more complex forms as kids grow up and can handle higher levels of complexity. There's no depth. We're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. We're just trying to make it a little bit harder. We're making the assumption that they're not ready, that their brains aren't ready. And for some topics, that's true. Most 5th graders would not be ready for calculus. Absolutely, 1000%. But do we need to talk about how to simplify exponents every single year? Is there a way we can build that in a little bit more in an applicative type of way? Second reason is, many teachers were taught the traditional way. We were taught procedural fluency. That was the main emphasis in school. And the truth is, a lot of us who become math teachers we're really just passing down what we know. And that's not a bad thing. I actually don't think that's bad at all. We're experts in what we know. It's hard to teach about something that you don't know. It's hard to teach in a way that you didn't learn it. So it makes a lot of sense why we focus on procedural fluency, but it's a large reason for why things don't change, because we're constantly passing down how we learned the things that we're teaching them. The third reason is assessment misalignment. We reward procedural fluency more than problem-solving ability, typically on quizzes and tests. In my experience, this may differ from school to school, we're expected to assess the skills that kids learn and implement, the specific skills, rather than assess how well they can problem solve. We all assess how they problem solve, whether it's on an assessment or in class, but we really do focus on making sure, do they have the necessary skills for the next course, for the next unit, for the next test, for instance. So what are some possible solutions about this? One thing I've been researching is problem-based learning. I'm going to call that PBL today. PBL improves motivation, critical thinking, and long-term mastery significantly. If you haven't heard of what problem-based learning is, it's basically the opposite of procedural fluency learning. The raw skills. Instead of teaching the raw skills, we're providing them problems. And they could be relevant to their own lives. They might not be, which is okay, but we should be teaching them how to solve problems. We shouldn't be teaching them what skills to use and expect them to memorize, oh, if you see this type of problem, do this type of thing. That's not exactly how problem solving works. Oftentimes, problems arise because we don't know how to solve it. Problems are unique. But being able to stay calm and reason through something and use what you know, using the skills that you know, can be really important. And I think problem-based learning could be a very important solution. A second solution could be inquiry-based learning. The good news with inquiry-based learning is that it results in higher engagement, a deeper understanding, and in higher scores. And I've got some articles that I'm referencing about some of these solutions in the description down below. Inquiry-based learning is similar to problem-based learning, but it's a little bit more student-centered. The students are asking the questions. What type of problems should we be tackling? They bring their curiosity into the room, and we unpack what they're thinking about, what they're questioning, what are their inquiries. Back to PBL. The good news with PBL is that it significantly improves motivation, critical thinking, and long-term conceptual mastery. Again, check the description if you want to find out more about PBL, along with the evidence behind these claims too. I myself haven't implemented it, and if you have implemented it in your classes, please drop a comment down below. Let me know, let others know how it went in your classes. What are the pros, what are the cons of it? Now, I know this seems like a lot. It's hard to just make change in a system that currently is quote unquote working. So how do we implement this? One thing we could use is professional development. Schools offer a lot of professional development, and it would be really cool if schools taught how to facilitate PBL and how to use it confidently. A lot of us don't want to change the way that we've done things because we're not confident in our changes. But if we were taught, perhaps, if we could learn it during professional development meetings on how to implement PBL as an option in the classroom, that's one way to make change. The second thing we can do is change the way we model assessments. We could value problem-solving ability rather than just rote procedures. Rote procedures are very necessary. I have taught a statistics class before where every single formative assessment was a quiz on rote procedures to make sure that the kids had the skills unpacked. But there was no tests. The assessments where students had to present a problem and they had to apply a checklist of skills that they've already been assessed on. Something like that would be really useful. The third thing is just encouraging others to have a growth mindset in the class. And what I mean by this is in class, a lot of students are afraid to speak up. They're afraid to question things. And if we can normalize struggle in the classroom, if we can celebrate the process a little bit more rather than final answers, we can get students to focus on applying things rather than straight up memorizing things. And that goes for teachers as well. If we could encourage a growth mindset, if we can encourage people to shift gears, and change is good. It's good to always make improvements in your practice. That could be beneficial for the world. Us modeling to kids that we're trying to change things. That's the biggest way that we can show them. That's the biggest way that we can model to them how to normalize struggle. Overall, to sum up, kids learn the same math for multiple years because we've designed a system that's safe, repetitive, and test focused. There's no depth. We don't push their thinking enough. And if we did, they'd probably retain things a lot more. The biggest issue with this entire system, in my opinion, is that it's not meaningful. Actually frustrating. It's frustrating to reteach the same topics over and over and over again. It questions our job and the way that we do things currently. But it also makes things frustrating for us when we're expecting students to remember everything from year to year to year, and they don't. It's not meaningful. There needs to be a change in the system. People need to be willing to change. Let's stop teaching rules and tricks and strategies, and we need to start trusting students to think through struggle. We need to allow them to struggle. We need to make sure that if they're asking us for help constantly in class, we need to tell them, hey, for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'm not going to take any questions. I want you to learn how to struggle. I want you to feel comfortable struggling. They still need the tools, and we don't need to change the whole curriculum. I'm not a big fan of big changes. I think small changes are the way to go, the way to best sell the higher ups on changes as well. The only thing that we really need to change is what we value each of our students to gain by the end of the year. If teachers could create a 5 to 10 minute video of all the things that we want them to value by the end of the year, that would go a long way in the way that we think about our curriculum and what's important. It might even inform us what we need to beef up in terms of pushing their thinking. One thing that teachers could do is, for example, teachers in pre-calculus could tell teachers in Algebra 2, hey, here's a topic where I've seen kids struggle, we might need to push their thinking a little bit more there, so that they don't have to reteach it. And that can get passed all the way down. So there needs to be a little bit more communication too amongst teachers. Students need to be better problem solvers for this world, not better memorizers. We don't need memorizers. You can Google anything, you can Wikipedia anything, you can chat GPT any type of knowledge. We don't need them to be better test takers. We need them to be better strugglers, better thinkers. That's what this world needs. This world has so many problems in it. They need to learn how to problem solve on their own or collaboratively. They need to learn how to problem solve. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please leave a comment on what was the most useless or repeated math skill you learned in school. I'm really curious about it. Let's talk about it. Maybe I can make a video about that topic that connects to your life in real life. Have a great one.